Russia criticizes the policy of double standards in dealing with terrorism in Syria and Iraq, describing it as barbaric. Extreme concern is reported by Arab and West states over the danger of terrorists coming back from Syria to their own countries. Iraqi troops confirm full control of a Beiji refinery and the expulsion of terrorists from the area surrounding it. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. Russia has criticized the double standard policy of certain countries in dealing with terrorism in Syria and Iraq, describing it as barbaric. Russia's permanent representative to the UN, Churkin, said it is quite barbaric to see some countries condemn the terrorist groups in Iraq and yet assess in a different way the operations carried out by the same groups in Syria. Churkin added that this is happening at a time when it is known quite well that such groups are interconnected and are carrying the same terrorist operations. Russia has welcomed the successful shipping outside Syria of the final quantity of chemical weapons preliminary to destroying it in the sea. The Russian Foreign Ministry described this operation as unprecedented in quality and quantity at the international level. The ministry pointed out that in such a step, the most important and complicated phase in implementing the plan concerning the shipping of chemical weapons outside Syria has thus been finalized. Russia said the possibility of the possession of chemical weapons by terrorist groups in Syria is still there, warning that they would use them to realize hostile objectives. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has praised the Syrian government's cooperation in transferring the chemical materials outside Syrian territories within the framework of Syria's joining the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Agreement. Ki-moon expressed satisfaction that the 7.2% material which had still been in Syria was now moved out of the country and thanked the joint mission of the UN and the Chemical Weapons Prohibition Organization as well as the various countries who contributed to the success of the operation through providing vessels, harbors and destruction facilities. China has reiterated support for a political solution to the crisis in Syria, affirming that Syria's future should be determined by the Syrian people. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said Beijing considers as of great importance a political settlement for the crisis in the country. The ministry added that the spread of forces of terrorism and extremism poses a real threat for Syria and regional states. In defiance of the terrorist groups, hundreds of families have returned to their homes in Adra. As the inhabitants were entering the town, the terrorists started opening fire and mortar shells at them, injuring a number of citizens. Governor of Damascus countryside, Mr. Hussein Makhlouf, has paid a visit to some of the locals of Adra al-Balad and other military men who have been injured and were admitted to al-Qtaifa hospital after they were targeted by mortar shells and were fired at upon returning to their city. Mr. Makhlouf also met during his tour a number of officials in the service sector, executive members and technicians at al-Qtaifa municipality building and called upon them to improve the services presented to the locals of the city. Years after recruiting terrorists and sending them to Syria, Tunisian Minister of Interior Lutfi Ben Jiddo admits that more than 2,400 Tunisian terrorists are fighting in Syria, voicing deep concern over the return of those terrorists to Tunisia and pointing out that the evidence is the recent terrorist events in the province of Soua.
Tunisian Interim Minister Lutfi Ben Jiddo has admitted that the number of Tunisians who have joined the armed groups in Syria exceed 2,400. In a statement to the press yesterday evening, the Tunisian minister said that Tunisian authorities have banned between 8,700 and 8,800 Tunisians from traveling, with the aim of joining the terrorist groups in Syria. Benjeddo said his country was watchful regarding any possible infiltration by terrorists into Tunisia and the travel of Tunisian youths to Syria. Benjeddo called on all national factions to unify efforts and cooperate against terrorism in Tunisia. Tunisia, it is to be noted, is currently witnessing an escalation in the phenomenon of extremism and the growth of jihadist thought due to the current government's policy in support of the armed groups in Syria. Meanwhile, a Tunisian terrorist, al-Zahid Bouhassan, was reported by a newspaper as having been killed by the Syrian Arab army while fighting Takfiris in Jobar in Damascus countryside. Moreover, al-Tunisiya Daily said in its issue today that 2 Tunisians carrying French nationality have been detained by the French security forces in Nîmes province on the charge of belonging to a terrorist cell. A Tunisian woman was also put under judicial supervision on the charge of belonging to a terrorist gang. They will all be referred to trial on the 4th of next July at the Paris Criminal Court. The cases are part of 55 similar cases that cover 300 persons accused of belonging to jihadist cells in Syria.
Welcome back. In a joint operation and after a 36-hour fierce fighting, the Iraqi Air Force and the joint forces have eliminated 86 terrorists and destroyed their vehicles along the Syrian-Iraqi borders near Rawa, Anna, Al-Walid, a crossing point, and vast parts of Al-Qaim city. Moreover, the Iraqi Air Force raided 2 of the terrorist camps in Al-Jalam desert and destroyed 8 vehicles equipped with anti-craft machine guns and killed 40 terrorists. The Iraqi Air Force also raided Yathrib district in Tikrit province and an old headquarters used by the intelligence in Mosul, killing 54 terrorists, among them Hussam al-Sattam, one of the leaders of the ISIS, and 10 of his assistants, and destroyed 21 machine guns equipped vehicles. An Iraqi military commander in Salahuddin province said that the Iraqi forces completely controlled Beiji oil refinery, refuting the rumors that the terrorist gangs controlled the oil refinery. It is to be noted that the Iraqi armed forces have intensified their military operations in Mosul, Tikrit, Babel, Al-Ramadi, Al-Fallujah, Samarra, Al-Sharkat and other areas amid an overwhelming support by the Iraqi tribes. A suicidal bombing was carried out yesterday evening near one of al-Dhahiya, al-Janubiya entrances between At-Tayouni and Shatila. The suicidal bomber detonated his vehicle near a checkpoint of the Lebanese army, killing a security man and wounding 12 others. It is believed that the suicidal bombing was carried out by a stolen 1961 model Mercedes car. Finally, in Ashram Hotel in Damascus City, the General Annual Conference of the Syrian Bar Association kicked off yesterday, attended by the Minister of Justice and a number of Secretary Generals and heads of popular organizations.
Under the motto, lawyers will always be loyal soldiers to Syria and its leader, Dr. Bashar al-Assad, and essential partners in reconstruction, the participants in the General Annual Conference of the Syrian Bar Association discussed the lawyers' role in strengthening the education of law. Their debates also concentrated on the role of the judiciary during the current phase and the problems facing lawyers and the possible ways to overcome such obstacles.
We stress the importance of the relationship that links the legal profession with the judiciary, as both of them should work together in order to protect people's rights. Both the legal profession and the judiciary, as it is always said, represent justice which can never be achieved without the existence of both of them. In this annual conference, we are going to discuss concerns related to this profession. As the motto of the conference stresses, we are and we will always be soldiers in defense of our homeland.
The conference was attended by the Secretary General of the Communist Party and the Assistant Secretary General of the Arab Lawyers Union, in addition to a number of heads and directors of popular organizations.
With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.